Hello, Roberta. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Jake. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. Um, I just wanted to say I'm glad to see you here. It's been a while since we've talked, and it's been really just a great year. I want to start by explaining the agenda. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that sounds great to me. I'd love to see it.
Awesome. And before we go any further, you can hear and see me all good, right?
Yes, Jake, I can hear and see you perfectly fine. Everything seems to be working.
Awesome. Well, then let's hop right into this agenda. So you can see this all right, right?
Yep, I can see that on my screen.
Awesome. So first, what I want to do today is I want to share with you my assessment personally of your performance in comparison to the district as a whole. And then I want to transition into figuring out how you rated yourself and how you think you did on your performance and talk about your performance eval from your side. And then at the end, we're going to figure out what's the best next steps moving forward. Does that sound good?
Sounds great to me. I look forward to this meeting.
Awesome. I just want to make sure you know exactly what's going on because I do know this is your first performance eval you've ever done. And Roberta, I just want to make sure it goes great.
Awesome, yeah. Was definitely nervous to come into this meeting, but I look forward to seeing how this all runs.
Awesome. Yeah, you should not be nervous. You should think of this more as a gift that I'm going to be giving you because it's going to be talking about the goods, the bads, and what you can fix on, which is going to really improve your next year.
Great.
So let's start out with the positive, Roberta, because I know it's been a challenging year. Since the last time we spoke, I know you spent a great amount of time working on to improve your overall comfort in the position due to this being your first year at striker and really just being your first time doing this kind of position in this field. I've noticed your sincere effort on your work, and I appreciate your positive attitude you bring and that you brought with your ride along with Carl. I talked to Carl a couple of days ago, and he said that you've been doing a great job recently. You've been making a lot of improvements, and on some of your most recent calls, he thinks you are starting to get a better understanding of how to communicate better with your clients and really just have more confidence. Additionally, since you have shifted your focus to making more calls, like we talked about earlier in this year, I have noticed that your call rating has gone up to 560 calls, which is awesome. Which is above the team's average at 500. So great job. Keep that up, Roberta. But there's not always positive news. There's also negative news that we have to talk about in order for you to grow. However, you did not reach your year-end total sales quota, Roberta. You were about $1,000 off, which isn't crazy, which nothing to worry about or cry about, but we do want you to get to that. I think the main reason for this shortfall is because your closing rate is still below the team's averages, resulting in a lot of missed opportunities. Your closing rate is at 0.25 and the average is 0.29. So it's not a big difference, but like I said, those little small numbers like we talked about will really add up overall. But I didn't want to just go off of just the numbers here because I don't think that's fair to either of us. I actually wanted to go out and get some feedback from your customers and your clients. So I reached out to them and I spoke with a few of them, and they expressed that you are still having trouble asking for these large dollar sales amounts due to this being your first year. And I know at Alta you were normally 300 was your max you would go and talk to customers about, but here it's in the thousands. And this leads to a big problem, Roberta. If you aren't able to ask for these large sales in the beginning or be comfortable with talking to these kinds of people, you're not going to be able to close the deal, which is going to end up affecting all of your numbers. This is going to both impact negatively your client relationships you have with them and your numbers. This will have a, I know you want to improve, Roberta, and we'd like to help you do that as well. But without confidence in converting these calls into meetings, it is going to be very difficult for you to hit your assigned quotas in the following year. Does that make sense?
You know, all those numbers do make sense, and I was upset to see when the Q4 data got released that I was $1,000 below my sales goals for this year. And I believe that's just based on how I was brought in. Obviously, the whole COVID situation, I didn't get a whole lot of training, and I've really been trying to work hard and absorb as much information as I can. And I'm a very competitive person against my sales rep, so it definitely was a kick in the butt for me, and I'm going to try my best in the following years once I've learned all these things within my first year to improve. And I really think next year is going to be a completely different year, and I think I'm going to excel as a sales rep.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you've really committed to growing. I don't want you to think, Roberta, that you did a bad job this year because you definitely did not. It was just different circumstances, and it's your first year. You've learned a lot more than you've done anything. and you're going to take all that learning and really excel next year, I believe, and everyone at Stryker believes that. And as long as you believe that, like you just said, I don't see how you can be stopped. And I just wanted to say thank you for all of your hard work this year overall. But you did, because of these challenges, fall into the bottom 20% of the team. Let me explain. So, Roberta, I brought my eval sheet with me, and I want to show you it. But before we do that, did you bring yours like I asked you to?
Yep, I have it on hand right by.
Alrighty, and you did get a chance to fill that out, correct?
Yep, I filled it out best of my ability and based on how I did this year.
Awesome. Well, let me pull up my copy of it then, and let's get talking about how I think you did.
Cool. I look forward to it.
Alrighty. Find it. Hitting go. My bad. I'm trying to find this shit now.
No, you're
Okay, I
okay.
got it. All right, I'm going to share my screen, Roberta, and you let me know when you can see it. All good?
Yep, all good on my side.
All right, well, let's just start at the top, Roberta. I want to go over a few subjective measures to start. For the first one, being the category knowledge of work, I rated you as fair, Roberta, because this being your first year, you still have a lot to learn, like we just talked about. And we want to continue to train you and allow you for opportunities to do more job shadowing so you can gain some more experience. But I rated you as fair of knowledge because it is your first year and you have still, like I said, a lot to learn. But I know you can do it, and I think you really have some room to grow. Does that make sense why I rated you as fair?
Yes, that does make sense. And, I rated myself as satisfactory based on, this is my first year at the company. I thought I did a good job at learning as much as I can and understanding the product to the best of my abilities. But it makes sense why I fell into that fair category.
All right. Yeah, I just want you to, we don't have to have the same ones, but I just want for you to understand why I ranked you. And I also am going to try to understand why you ranked yourself that way. And that makes sense why you rated yourself as satisfactory. I do agree that you might have not had all the time you've needed to, but you have shown definitely some strides. So that's a great job. Your degree of acceptance by customers is our next section, and I rated you as satisfactory. The reason being that is we know, Roberta, that you are good at talking with existing customers, customers that you've seen maybe 10 times. You can continue to get those deals. But the problem that we were hitting is you're having trouble asking for these you're having trouble connecting with some new clients because you can't get over this asking for the big number, or you're having trouble just with the overall comfort and confidence to really talk to these people the right way, how we want you to. Does that make sense why I rated you satisfactory?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I also rated myself as satisfactory for this category. I've really tried being able to talk to customers and getting comfortable with those positions, but I still think I need room to improve when asking for bigger number sales. And I think I've gotten really more comfortable with that with this year. And I think going into next year, I'll be way more comfortable asking for those big sales.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad I think we're on the same page, Roberta. It sounds like we're getting a mutual understanding here. And to move on to our last section of this, it is a positive one. I wanted to end on a positive note because I think that would be the best thing to do. And it was the amount of effort devoted to acquiring business. And I want to say, Roberta, great job on smashing your goal I gave you of making those total calls. You hit 560, which is above the team's average, and you could see it by your numbers. And I'm sure you've noticed it by just doing it personally, how much it's really helped you. Um, we've all noticed how much effort you've done in this area, and your clients are noticing it too. Um, I just wanted to say great job, and I wonder how you ranked yourself.
I rated myself as good, and I'm happy to hear that you rated me as outstanding. I really had to once we had that meeting, kick myself in the butt and get those total sales call up. But I rated myself as good because I felt that before then I was falling short of how many calls I needed to be doing, and I just needed that little extra motivation to understand what was needed of me and how I needed to get those numbers out.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that goal kind of helped you push yourself to getting to number one, to getting that high number. And I wanted to say you were ranked number one in this section because you had the highest amount out of all the teams, but you did have a lower closing rate, which is going to lead to your sales number going down. I just want to make sure you know why, because you might be thinking, oh, I made all the calls, but how come I'm not number one? It's because you're still having trouble asking for those large sales, Roberta. But
Hmm.
we're going to get into that and we're going to figure all that out. So let's talk about the objective measures now. Are you good with the stuff up here? Any questions?
Nope, not at all.
Alrighty. So I unfortunately couldn't compare any of your last year's and this year's to see how you've done because this is your first year, Roberta. So I went off of a couple different numbers. Um, your sales as a district this year was 0.17, which was below average. You do have one of the best and most potential areas, Roberta, with the most people in it. So we really want to see you get that number up because we know your area has the potential. It hasn't really been tapped in that much, and there's a lot of opportunity there. So we want you to get that number up a couple points, at least to 0.24, 0.24, or 0.24, like 0.25. Do you think you could maybe do that or see how that's making a difference?
Yeah, I think that's a good goal for me, and I think that in this next year, since I'm now more comfortable within this area, I'll be able to reach those numbers, and we'll see that number go up.
Awesome. And then another area that I want to look at is your sales dollars per call, which fell pretty far below the team's average. And that's going to result in a low number, obviously, because you have to make that number higher. But like I said, I don't want you to be pushy to get the customers to want it, but just really try to think about what they need and go off of their needs. Don't be the pushy salesman. Just really go off of the Western way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense, and I will strive to get that sales dollar number up.
Awesome. And then I noticed your equipment, you did fall a couple thousand below your goal of hitting it this year. And you could see it by your percent here of 0.08. We want that to be at least 0.12. Um, but we know that equipment is not the easiest thing to sell. We don't expect you to sell a lot of it, but we do need you to actually hit the marks that you have been given. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense to me.
Okay. Well, I just want to transition into the thank you. Um, I really hope this experience was good for you. I hope you learned a lot and got to know why I ranked you such ways. And I really enjoyed learning why you ranked yourself some ways. But I do think you need some additional instructions on how to close a deal and building long-term relationships. Both of these things will help your numbers gain a lot, and they kind of go intertwined. But I think that's something we'll be able to work on through some more shadowing and some more training that we can take advantage of next year. But another key focus we're also going to look at is asking for large number of dollar sales, um, just because we want you to have more experience in that. I know it's your first year, but after another couple months, I think you're going to be crushing it and be just overall more comfortable after we do a couple more steps. Um, just be, continue being a sponge. Really, just come in and every day ready to learn. We notice that, and I love to see it out of you. And just keep that up. Your positive attitude has been mentioned by a lot of your customers, and really, it's just an awesome job. Great job, Roberto.
Thank you, Jake. I appreciate those words.
Um, so, Roberta, based on everything we talked about, I just want to say thank you for all the efforts you put in. You really have made a huge stride as your first year rep. I know you didn't hit your goals, but I don't want you to put yourself down, Roberta. We really look forward to having you on our team next year, and we want you to really move on. But we do have to recommend improvement or performance improvement plan since you did not hit quota. That is just one of our rules we follow. But I want to get you set up on that. But first, we're gonna have to talk with me and my boss, my manager. Are you able to talk next week with us? Maybe we can all meet up.
Yeah, what time?
I'm thinking Friday at noon.
Yeah, that works for me.
Alrighty. Yeah, so we're just gonna get together next week and talk a little bit more, us three, about what to do with you next. We're definitely gonna keep you on, Roberta. I don't want you to think you're gonna be losing your job here next Friday. Um, we just want to see how we can help you. Knowing you're a rookie, we don't want to go too strong into the performance improvement plan, but we do want to set up everything that you need to be successful. Alrighty, Roberta. Well, that's all I have for you today, and I really appreciate and thank you for taking the time to come and sit down and talk with me. I think it really helped us both.
Yes, Jake, I think I really did learn a lot from this meeting, and I look forward to the follow-up meeting and learning about how to get on this performance improvement plan.
Alrighty, I will see you in a couple days then, Roberta.
All right,
Bye-bye.
thank you, Jake.
Yep.